Hello. Just sitting here waiting for everyone to turn up. Oh, oh, pardon me. I'm all yawny today. So welcome to my live. People are just coming in. While we're waiting for people to turn up, how old are your kids? My kids are 29 and 34. And how old are your children? Just curious. It's mostly parents of young children on these lives, but sometimes I get parents of teenagers. So how old are your kids? By the way, I'm on YouTube at the same time whenever I'm doing 12 months. Excellent. I'm always on YouTube while I'm doing lives, and I go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok while I'm on YouTube at the same time. So 12 months old. How old are your children? I'm just asking that while we're waiting for people to turn up. Oh, I got the yawns. Pardon me. 1.5. Excellent. 9, 3, and 1. Wow. So you got just out of a toddler and you got another toddler. Noel Wilson is 2. Not you, but your child is 2. 14 and 8. Excellent. Teenagers are my favorite age. Toddlers are my least favorite because of the safety issue. You can never go anywhere without watching them like a hawk. So yeah, it's just so physically demanding. Anyway, so let's get going with your parenting questions. That's what I'm here for. My baby girl is 8 months. 8 months times. What does that mean? 8 months. Or is that just a kiss? 8. How my baby girl's 8 months. Okay, 2 and 4. Okay, so what are your parenting questions? Anything from baby to teenager. So if you check in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. That's all. You have to apply for that these days just because I'm super busy. So that's on email. But anyway, check it out anyway. And if you're interested, then send me an email. Tell me why you want to do coaching. So then we'll see if it's a good fit. Okay. I don't know why I just had a flashback to childhood because Yvonne is here. I remember when I was a child, I was little, and we had an Yvonne in our class. She was a new girl, just came into school, and I thought it was Yvonne. I thought, why are they calling her Yvonne? It's a Y. Yvonne. It's funny how you remember these. I don't think I've ever remembered that before. It just flashed into my memory, into my head. It's funny. Anyway. So parenting questions, that's why I'm here. Just here to answer questions. This is one of my regularly scheduled lives. Okay, 9-year-old lies. Okay, so just put down on the behavior board, check out the link above, you put down no lying. And every time they lie, there's just a consequence. We never want to get angry at bad behavior or lying or anything naughty that they do. We just want to impose a consequence. Really, I should call that a behavior board, a karma board. It's just about teaching them to be accountable for what they say and do. That's all. That's all it is. No anger. You just say, okay, well, you lied, and here's the consequence. Okay, do you understand? So yeah, it's just teaching them how to be accountable for what they do. But a kiss, yeah. My little girl refuses any food. Oops, sorry, it flipped ahead. Any food that isn't sweet. Yeah, well, the thing is, you've got to avoid the sweet stuff then. Just don't even offer it. Yeah, she's really little. Yeah. You know what, though? I kind of hesitate to talk about nutrition or food because I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a pediatrician. So I'm really not qualified to discuss that sort of stuff. But yeah, if they only like sweet stuff, I would just kind of take away the sweet stuff. I actually have a salt tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth. I didn't even like sugar when I was a kid. Kids used to fight to sit beside me at birthday parties because I'd scrape off all the icing and give it to them. Yeah, I couldn't, just the thought of it. Anyway, so yeah, I guess I was lucky I didn't like sugar. But yeah, you know, they only eat what you offer them. Like what I mean is they don't have any control over what they eat. You do. So you can just offer them healthy stuff and eventually they'll learn to eat healthy. That's what I did with my kids. I made everything from scratch. There was no ice cream in the freezer or chips in the pantry. So they knew if they didn't eat healthy stuff, there was no crap waiting for them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they knew that that wasn't waiting. 4-year-old may be autistic and I'm having a hard time potty training. I can't discuss autism on here. That would be more of a coaching issue because I'd have to assess the situation and I do have a course on potty training. If you think that might help, you might want to check it out. It's for toddlers, but if the child's autistic, potentially it might be a little bit more challenging. That course might be good for you. It's all in the link above. All my courses and coaching, everything's in the link above. Okay, twins, 7-year-old twins. They keep yelling and screaming and hitting at home. Outside the house, they're super shy and don't talk back. I don't know what's going on. We work on their, okay, it just means that they're too socially aware. There's a lot of social pressure in not acting out. So they don't want to get that look where people look at them like, what are you doing? So yeah, they're just more comfortable at home. But I would look at the boot camp course. It's all about your leadership, and it tends to calm them down, and they tend to be respectful when you're a leader. So check out the boot camp course. It's up in the link above. It might be a good option for you. Any tips for a 9-year-old with ODD-like behavior? ODD isn't really a thing. It's just oppositional defiant disorder. It just means they're a feisty kid. Doctors have told me they just made that up to make moms feel better. Isn't that funny? So that the moms don't blame themselves for not being able to parent. That's what they told me. And I always say it's not that they're bad parents. They just don't know how to handle a feisty kid. That's all. If you've never handled one, how the heck are you supposed to know what to do? Anyway, that's what I'm here for. So yeah, just check out the boot camp course. That might be for you. So yeah, if you've got a kid who's a little bit more feisty, even more reason to work on your leadership skills. You lead, they will follow. Their behavior is between the ages of 3 and 12 is a direct result of your parenting. So if you're a leader, they tend to be respectful. If you're not, they tend to not be respectful. That's basically how it works. Three-year-old threatens to kick or bite or spit or pinch when mad. Now, do they do it or do they just threaten? If they threaten, I wouldn't do anything. I'd go whatever. But if they do it, then there'd be a consequence. No hurting other people, I would put down on the behavior board. And if they do, there's a consequence. If they just threaten something, I'd just go whatever. Like there's no way I would give that any weight. Oh, Rochelle, yeah, like, no, you can't have any. She says, well, I'm going to pinch you. I'd say, whatever. But if she does pinch, then I'd say no, and there's a consequence for that. Check it out. Put down no hurting other people on the behavior board. Or next level is the boot camp course. So the free behavior board, the toddler courses, the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, and then coaching is for teenagers, or any age, but I only have coaching for teenagers. Do you have any tips for children with ADHD frontal lobe injury? Well, those are two different things. So frontal lobe injury, that usually is impulse control. Am I correct? I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, I worked with a lot of kids that had impulse control. So it's all the same advice. You be a calm leader when you're disciplining. You can be crazy and fun the rest of the time, but stay very calm when you're disciplining. Treat discipline like a business transaction. Whenever they do something wrong, you impose a consequence. It's very calm, no yelling, no anger, but most parents yell. So just because you don't know what else to do. So you put no yelling as your rule because you're on that behavior board too. If you're not on there, it's not going to work. Leaders are accountable. I teach leadership. 12-year-old would love to, but can't afford. Well, then just get the behavior board. That's free. And this is free. So yeah, lots of free stuff. That's why I'm on here every day. I don't get paid for this. This is all free advice. And I don't answer general parenting questions anywhere but here. I don't have any time. So my 6-year-old loved her consequence of cleaning the living room. Should I do anything differently if she likes the consequence? I get asked this a lot. Basically, don't worry too much about it. It's just doing a good deed. Even if they like it, they're still doing a good deed. So don't worry too much about it. If you want to go, if it's not working and her behavior isn't correcting, like if what the rule that she's breaking is she isn't breaking it less, or it's not getting any better, then maybe make it a little bit more difficult, the consequence. But otherwise, it's just, hey, you did something naughty, so do a good deed. That's really what it's all about. 11 and 13-year-old brothers, very well behaved and very respectful. Nice. But neither cares about school. Both barely passing, have tried grounding. I don't do grounding. Take away electronics. I do that sometimes. Even offered to pay for better grades. I don't do that, but nothing helps. They're both smart, but not so smart. They need to be more challenged. How do we get them motivated? I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on there. The fact that they're very respectful, if they're respectful, you'd think that they would be trying harder. Like, it's a contradiction. If they respect you, they would be trying harder in school because they wouldn't want to face you. They'd be embarrassed. They don't want to disappoint you. So yeah, I don't quite know what's going on there. It's kind of a contradiction. Anyway, you might want to look into coaching. I could maybe help you figure that out because I don't know your relationship with them. I don't know how to tell you to proceed if I don't understand your relationship and the dynamics in the household. But that's a contradiction. They're very respectful, and yet they don't try and pass school for you to, you see? Yeah. Even if they don't care about it, they usually would do that because they don't want to disappoint you. So, yeah. Yeah, this is why I love you. ODD is made up and you tell it like it is. I'm sure it's why you have a lot of haters. Oh, I'm fine with that. You know me. I don't care about that. I'm here to shake things up by telling the truth. I don't care. Why do I care? I'm not here to be popular at all. So yeah, ODD is oppositional defiant disorder. And it was a term made up, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. Anyway, pediatricians have told me they made that up to make moms feel better. Which is so ridiculous because then moms just say, well, I can't do anything. He's got ODD. They just blame the kid and they don't even try and get better behavior out of them. That's what happens. Well, the reason he's biting my ankle is because he has ODD. That's what they've done. They've given moms an excuse not to try. And it's quite frustrating, actually. But yeah, those are all the kids I worked with. You think I ever worked with an easy kid? Not once in 52 years of working with kids did anyone ever say to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one. You know, I always got those kids. And this is where I learned all this. My kids were easy. I got respect when they were little. They didn't have any challenges particularly. Well, not at all. My son had tantrums and that was it. But yeah, I learned all this with all those kids. 9-year-old, very impulsive. How do you help that? I don't know what you mean by impulsive. That could be a good or a bad thing. I don't know what you mean by that. Can be impulsive. Oh, I think I'll do all my schoolwork as fast as I can. So I don't know what you want. How do I help my 11-year-old girl stop panic attacks? Panic attacks can be like a mental illness. I've actually had them. I had them in my 20s, and they are real. They are intense. I can remember, where was I? I was in an airport, and I was in Mexico by myself, coming back from Club Med back in 1980, 1979 maybe. And I was coming back from Mexico. I was in an airport, and I didn't know if I could get on that plane. I thought I'm either going to pass out, throw up, or die, or do all three. It was a massive panic attack. And yeah, it is real. Do you know what happened though? You know why I got out of them? Is I realized, wait a minute, I've never once thrown up, passed out, or died. And they just lost their power. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you because it's like a mental illness, but it's definitely a condition. And it is real. So yeah, just tell her that they don't really, everything that you fear the most during a panic attack doesn't seem to ever happen. So they're not really real. They feel real, but they're not really real. The fear that you have during a panic attack is not really real. But yeah, telling kids about other stories about other kids is usually the best thing you can do. Like how they don't have any power kind of thing. But yeah. Thank you. I've used your advice about tantrums with my 1-year-old and it's getting better. Excellent. Ignoring tantrums and rewarding calmness. I always say with the tantrum, it's an emotional loss of control at not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. You do not need to validate that. You do not need to validate every single thought and feeling that comes into their head. There's no way I would validate a tantrum. That's validating everything you don't want. So anyway, that's the crazy, okay? I always say you ignore the crazy. As soon as they finished, you go, oh, you all done? You want to read a book? So any attention is tantrum food. So you don't give them any attention, but afterwards, then you give them attention. And they start to connect the dots after a while. And this is just a 1-year-old, so they can learn this very, very young. It won't stop right away. And tantrums will never really stop until 3.5 usually, when they learn how to get control. But they will diminish in intensity, duration, and frequency. How many behaviors can be on the board at one time? 1. It's 1 rule per week, 1 battle per week. You can only handle 1 at a time. When you're learning, you can only handle 1 at a time. So week 1 is 1, then week 2, you'll have 2 behavior boards. That's 2. Week 3, you'll have 3. It's a learning tool. I would never use a behavior board. I've never used one. It's a teaching tool to teach you how to do this. So if I would go in and deal with everything in day 1, But I'm level 10 with what I teach, right? I know how to be a leader for kids. But when you're learning, you just focus on one rule. All the rest of the stuff they're doing wrong, you have to let it go or do whatever you were doing before. Don't change anything with all that other stuff. But you just focus on that one rule per week. It's just a teaching tool. I know this happens all the time in coaching. Week 1, they're frustrated. What about all the millions of things they're doing wrong? I say, we're only picking one. Week 2, they're going, oh, okay, week 1's kind of working. Now week 2, by week 3, they're starting to get it. They're starting to say, oh, I see. I'm starting to feel the power. That's usually how it goes, is parents start to understand that that's just a teaching tool. And then by week 4, we pull away from the behavior boards because you don't need it anymore. Same with the boot camp course. It's the same thing. The first 3 weeks are behavior boards because you're just learning. It's for you, not your children, by the way. It doesn't mean they're going to stop breaking those rules. It just means that you imposing the consequences and making the behavior board work is getting easier. Well, I don't know this one. How do I help my middle child with extreme jealousy of her younger and older sisters? I don't know the dynamics in your family, so I can't give you a personal answer, like a personalized answer. But one thing that does cause a lot of resentment and hatred and jealousy between siblings is when you do one-on-one time with them. It doesn't matter that it's fair and reasonable, 30 minutes with one, 30 minutes with the next, they don't care. It builds animosity, it builds resentment towards each other. So whenever you're doing something with your kids, include all 3. Find something that all 4 of you can do, or all 5 of you can do, both parents or one parent and the 3 kids. So you have fun together. You usually play to the weakest link, and it's never anything competitive. Like you don't pull out Monopoly or something where there's a winner and losers. You see what I mean? Just make it something fun. Look up fun activities to do with kids, and it's usually something physical and goofy and fun. What are good consequences for bad behavior? Check out the behavior board. It tells you how to do all that. So there's always 2 consequences on there. So if they break a rule, there's a positive action. If they won't do the positive action consequence, then you resort to the negative deprivation, which would be something like 24-hour media blackout. But that's their choice. They can either do the positive action, which is a chore or something like that. If they won't do that, you always time it. I'll give you 10 minutes to do it. If not, then we go to the 24-hour media blackout. Your choice. So yeah. It's the behavior board's in the link above. Everything I have is in the link above. Oh, I just want to say thank you. I think it was yesterday I reached 100,000 followers here on Facebook. So I'm very grateful for that. I've been on here now for, I think, 4 months. I've been on here for years, but I wasn't posting regularly. I just started posting regularly, I think, 4 months ago. So I'm very grateful for that following, and I really appreciate it, just to let you know that I do appreciate it. And thank you very much for that. Would you put using your manners on the behavior board? Absolutely not. That's an attitude thing. You know what you're saying? Be a good kid. It's too vague. It's not specific. It's attitude based. And besides, use your manners. They do when you're a leader. Do you know if they are rude, it's because you're not a leader. So take responsibility for that. Use your manners is like saying, be a good kid. It's ridiculous to say that. Yeah, you can't. That's attitude-based. Check out the behavior board. It's free. How do I change bad sleeping habits? My girls, 3 and 6, constantly wake throughout the night. Okay. Check out my bedtime battles course. That's one of my mini courses. It's 2 to 8 years old. It's a nasty one. Because the first part's easy, how to get them to bed. The second part, how to keep them there. It's usually a night of hell. Yeah, it's usually a night of hell, but it's worth it. So check that out. Can you give some good consequences? There's no point me going on about that. It's just chores. Wash a window, clean the dishes, put the shoes in the cubby, put 10 toys away within. You always time it. So it would be like help with the laundry for 30 minutes, or put dishes away within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. So stuff like that. It's just chores. Don't get caught up in what it is. Just put it down. You'll see. I've got examples on the behavior board of what they are. I'm tired of having to tell my 6-year-old son multiple times to do something, so I've started taking a toy each time. No. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. Well, I don't repeat myself, for one thing. I could go on. There's so many different ways I could go with this. Just check out the behavior board. Put down, follow chore chart. Let's say it's chores that they're not doing. So the rule is follow chore chart, and have a little chore chart below and keep it simple. 3 little chores: make your bed, dirty clothes in the hamper, wipe toothpaste out of sink or something every day. If they don't do that, then there's a consequence. So don't keep taking stuff away. You start to look fear-based at that point, like you're parenting through fear. Yeah, I don't want to go on about that, but yeah, I wouldn't do it that way. You have toddler tips for teens. Teens are my favorite age. I have 3 tips for how to parent teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2 is negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? You negotiate. It's not a blanket statement, but try and do that with as much as possible. Give them some say in how their life goes. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Don't try and micromanage them. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, I would say something like this. Well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. You just hope they learn from them. That's all. If you're a safe place to land, you're not judgmental, they'll tell you everything. Right through the teen years. They'll tell you stuff you don't even want to hear because they can't help themselves. Because you're a safe place to land. It's like it just flies out. Oh, impulsive with us saying, don't get out of your room, and he continues to do it even after consequences? I don't understand that. You're talking about timeout? I hate timeout. I can't stand it. So maybe you could elaborate and tell me what's going on there. But yeah, I don't like timeout. I think it's humiliating, and there's no lesson learned in timeout. You know what it says to me? It says you don't know what to do, so you throw them somewhere else. Go in your room because I don't know what to do. Go in your room. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I can't stand it. Could you imagine your boss saying, look, you made a mistake, just go in the lunchroom, sitting there for a half hour? You'd probably go yippee, but you get my point. It's humiliating. Yeah, I'm going to respond. I'm going to read this. I love your ideas. I'm a teacher and wonder how you could use these ideas when I have 30 kids at a time. I don't teach teaching, so I don't have a clue. A huge portion of my clients are daycare workers, teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs. They're different. Those are institutional. They're business. It's different. It's not personal. Parenting is personal. Your emotions get involved. It's just different. It's a different relationship. That's my lane. So I don't know anything about teaching. I have spent many, many, many hours sitting in the back of class supporting kids who were, out of control and watching teachers and think, yeah, I would never want to do that job. Yeah, no thanks. It would be hard. It's not for me. Parenting, piece of cake. I get it. Mentoring kids, troubled teens, piece of cake. Teaching, oh God, I think I'd wet myself if I had to do it. We all have our specialties. Some stuff does cross over, a lot doesn't, with teaching, with schools, and with parenting. One thing that does not cross over is a reward chart. It works beautifully at school because it's not personal. 30 kids are on that reward chart. So if you do something good, you get a reward. At home, it's a disaster. A reward chart is a message that you're sending to your child at home. You're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. See what it's saying to your child? It's ridiculous. You don't reward for good behavior. That's your baseline expectation. Behavior board says you're normally wonderful, but if you should happen to do something rotten, I know how to deal with it. You see? You don't want their identity to be the bad behavior. You deal with bad behavior and then you focus on the good kid. Reward chart focuses on the bad kid. Believe it or not, I know people think it's the opposite way. It's not at all. A reward chart says your kid is rotten. That's what they pick up on. I'm normally rotten, but I might get a reward if I'm not. But at school, it works fine. It's not personal. School is not personal. What's the most common mistake you see parents make? Whew. I don't like to call them mistakes. I think I would say parents don't usually read the room. What I mean is they're trying to use their own head, their adult head, to try and figure out their kids. I was just dealing with a parent today. I can't go into it, but it was what they were saying made perfect sense in how they dealt with their child. But I said, here's what your child was thinking. It was completely different from what the parent was thinking. It was completely different to what we would normally think. I do what I know works with kids, not what you think may make sense, right? I enter the kids' world when all my advice comes from understanding children and what they're thinking. and what they respond to. That's where I learned it from. I've never read a book or anything on kids or parenting. Why would I? I went right to the source. Kids taught me all this. So that's the biggest mistake. They don't read the room. They don't understand what kids are really thinking and feeling. But it's not a mistake. It's just lack of experience. So it's not even a mistake. You see? If I was to just pick one thing, and it's not the worst thing, I would say most parents overpraise and underplay. Play is your child's love language. Praise is not. You can praise a child. You're wonderful. You're special. You can do anything in the world. You can be anything you want. Okay, I'm going to go do the dishes now. The kid's standing there like this. What did praise does not get good behavior, by the way. It means nothing to them. It's okay thrown in as an extra. It's like a little bit of seasoning into the mix, but it doesn't get you any results. If you say to a child, hey, what are you playing with? Can I play too? This is their face. Sure. See, that's part of leadership, is connecting with them, playing with them in their world. But praise it's overrated. It's overdone, and play is underdone. So I would say that's a really common thing that happens. I see that all the time. Is picking them up but not looking at them or talking to them during a tantrum considered validating it? So in other words, when they get violent, you just physically restrain them. I wouldn't even really pick them up unless you have to. And when you do, you pick them up facing away from you, and you put your hand on the back of their head so they can't headbutt you. But you're still not looking at them or talking to them. You're just physically restraining them to keep them safe. You don't talk to them or look at them. They will survive. They'll up it. If they're not used to this, they'll up it to get you to react. So it seems like it's really upsetting them, but really they're just getting more and more mad. You do not need to validate a tantrum. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. You don't want to validate that. You do not need to validate every single thought and emotions. It's your big feelings and big emotions. No, that's garbage. If you think that your child's being damaged by you ignoring a tantrum, you got bigger fish to fry. You got to work on your relationship with your child. They don't feel safe with you. They don't feel loved. If that damages them, you got bigger things to worry about. They will survive. Can you explain the behavior board? Okay, just check out the link above. It's right up there. It's just a rule and a consequence for everyone in the family, and everyone has something different. Unless the kids are about the same age, it can have the same rule for all three kids. Or if both parents yell, then it can be no yelling for both. But basically, everyone has their own individual or individualized, personalized rule, and then they also have a consequence. But the kids have two consequences. You know you're going to do your consequence, so you only need one. The kids have a positive action. If they won't do that, then there's a negative deprivation. You always start with the positive action. They do something bad, you want them to replace it with something good. If they won't do that, then fine, 24-hour media blackout. That was your choice. Once you've said it, it has to happen. So once you've said it, they might run around doing the chore that they didn't want to do. And you say, thanks for that. And they say, oh, can I watch TV now? Well, no, 24-hour media blackout started 10 minutes ago. Once you've said it, it has to happen. So yeah, it's better to make things escalate than to try and avoid that. Like what I mean is, don't be afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum, because if you are, they're in charge. Guaranteed they're in charge. Like that 8-year-old kid I started working with, and he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. No expression. I was inviting it. Bring it on. He never did. He looked at me like that. He never did. So don't be afraid of that. If you are, they're in charge, and they pick up on that, like that kid. Oh, geez, he didn't know me, so he wouldn't have said that if he knew me. How do you manage a 3-year-old that refuses to listen when you speak to them? It's not their fault, it's yours. Work on your leadership skills. They listen to leaders. They don't listen to non-leaders. So that's not them. Remember, we're never fixing kids. They're just a reflection of your parenting. If they're not they listen to someone if they're interested, if they respect them. Okay, they just do. So work on your leadership skills. You might want to check out my boot camp course. That's up in the link above. It's all about you and your leadership. Everyone wants to fix their kids, but really, you take the responsibility for their behavior. That's what you should do. Take responsibility for their behavior. Fix yourself, not your kids. Children instinctively follow a leader. They want a leader. They desperately want, crave, and need a leader. Every single troubled teen I've ever worked with has said this, not in the exact same words, and they don't want it now, but they've all said, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up. They equate discipline with love, right? That's what this is all about. You're guiding them into making good choices. You're guiding them into being nice people. Any child back-talking their parents, ignoring their parents, being nasty to their parents, their self-esteem guaranteed is in the toilet. You can't treat people like crap and still feel good about yourself. It's impossible, and they don't go together. So yeah, you want your kids to like themselves. They only like themselves when they're proud of how they are and how they treat people. So give your children the gift of high self-esteem so that they like themselves. When you're a leader, they like themselves when they're with you, and naturally they want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. You want to pass over that leadership, to them a little bit. You're still there for the big stuff, but you don't want to micromanage a teenager. Teenagers are actually great. They're quite easy. It's just that parents don't adjust to the teen years. Teens do, but parents don't. You got to back off a little bit. Oh, shoot. I have to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Thanks for joining me. And check out the link above, my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Happy parenting. Come on, live. There we go. Oh, gosh. I've been coaching all day, my voice, and I've still got another client after this. As my voice starts to go. Someone asked me, like, my voice is really, I've been coaching all day, and then I have this live for an hour and a half, and then I've got another client tonight that I'm coaching. And it's not, I mean, I can mentally do it, but my voice starts to give out. So I got to kind of go easy a little bit on my voice right now. I'm a nanny for toddlers and have helped me so much. Excellent. I don't teach nannying or anything. I only teach parenting, but a lot of this stuff can be used by anyone who looks after kids, but that's not my specialty. How much screen time should 11-year-old have? I can't possibly set an amount of time, but let's say, for example, you decide 10 hours a week. So you tell them, look, you got 10 hours a week. Don't micromanage that. You just keep track of the hours. Actually, write down minutes. So it'd be 600 minutes, and then they can decide when they do it. It can only be at appropriate times. They can't get up at 2 in the morning and look at screens. But yeah, so you say, look, you got 10 hours a week. I'm not going to manage that. You do it. If you're not a leader and they're kind of walk all over you, they're going to use up that screen time pronto. So they might run out of screen time by Wednesday. Then they've got to go through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with no screen time. It's so worth going through that hell. It just is, trust me. They'll look at you quite differently after that. You say, well, you used up, there's no screen time now. You used it all up. Yeah, that was your decision, not mine. So anyway. Should I put on the board a 6-year-old screaming when told no right before a meltdown? Oh, you mean screaming? You never put anything attitude-based. And a 6-year-old should not be having tantrums still. It says that they don't respect you. Work on your leadership skills, and they just don't act like that when you're a leader. So you might want to check out the boot camp course, actually. That's in the link above. And but yeah, it's all about your leadership. It's not about your kids. It's about you and your leadership. That's all I teach here. I teach parenting. I don't teach toddlering or kidding or teenagering. I teach parenting. You set yourself up as a leader and they respect you. Now, I've worked with hundreds of kids, troubled teens, toddlers, all ages. I always managed to get respect. Was it them? Did I just luck out and get an easy hour? You see what I mean? Like, it's all you. You act like a leader. You set yourself up as a leader with children, teens, toddlers, whatever. Not so much toddlers, they're learning, but even then they could start to learn how to respect you, but they're not going to really be there till they're about 3 years old, maybe 3.5. But yeah, set yourself up as a leader and then they will respect you. You never put attitude on that board because it's not fair. If you're not a leader and you're asking them to be good, it's not fair. Yeah. Yeah, the screaming's a result of your parenting. Look at what I did. I did my sunglasses again. I keep doing that. At least I know what to do to get rid of it now. Best way to discipline a 2-year-old, she doesn't listen at all. Yeah, they don't really listen. It's more of a matter of managing toddlers. These are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is you childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is you enter their world when you want to connect with a toddler. You don't take them to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. they start to look at you differently. When you know how to enter their world and play with them in their world, they feel more connected to you. They're more likely to listen to you. Number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, you don't do that in your world. Your world is words. Your world is discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. You know those mini therapy sessions that I think are garbage? I can't stand them. No, they're all about actions. You use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. Okay, and number 5 is stop trying to figure toddlers out. They're not figure-outable. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Can you figure that one out? They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Go easy on them. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for one of those years, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Plus, in the year after that, it's a brand new, fresh brain. Imagine if you've only seen the world for, like, as a non-baby for like a year maybe. Like, think about it. Your expectations are here of toddlers. Lower them and manage the environment, manage yourself. And just accept the fact that everything they go through is a stage. Is it normal that I think my toddler is an asshole? Sorry about this, but yeah, a lot of parents don't always use that word, but yeah, absolutely. Enough said. Lots of parents sort of feel that way. So yeah, don't worry about it. Okay, good question. Hi, Lisa. Can you talk more about babies and the transition to toddlerhood and how to adjust approach outside of the top 5 tips? So when you've got a baby, let's say a baby to me is about 14, 15 months, and then toddlers start at about 16 months. With babies, with children, you meet their needs and manage their wants. Okay, managing their wants is the discipline. With babies, you meet their needs and you meet their wants until they're about 10 months old. Then you can start to discipline. Now, here's how it goes. Let's say you're holding a 10-month-old baby and they hit you in the face. I would hold their hand and I would just say, no. But I would never say that to make them cry. I say that to get this reaction. Like, you want them to stop and look at you. They'll probably laugh and try and hit you again. They're going to test it out. But you just say no, and you might put them down, then go, or else distract them and do something else. But you still want to let them know that that's not okay. But you never want to make a baby cry when you're disciplining them, okay? And if you have to take something away that they're hitting with, I'd say no, put that toy away, then I'd probably pick them up and read a book to them. So you distract them, you use redirection with a baby. And then when they hit, and then you start to get more into the consistent corrective actions, you just take the toy away and let them cry. That happens more at 16 months or just before. I'm fudging it. It could be 14 months, it could be, no, really about 16 months is when that starts, but it could be a little bit earlier too, but yeah. And accept the fact that they're going to go through stage after stage after stage. Just when you think you've got them figured out, I got them figured out. They're going to come up with something new the next day. Toddlers they're little mysteries, those things. To themselves too. They don't know what they're doing. Okay, suggestion. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, shoot. Oh, okay. Okay, suggestion for a 2-year-old who won't help pick up his blocks. Okay, I don't really get toddlers to do any chores. What I do though is I'd say, hey, we're gonna go, do you wanna watch TV or do you wanna go to the park? Let's pick up your toys first. Look how fast mommy is. Oh, I got one. You try and make a game out of it and you're using incentive. Like, as soon as we've picked up the toys, we can go to the park. That's the as soon as method. It really kicks in when they're toddlers still. You can start to use it. So like, my kids never would have asked for anything that they really wanted until they knew they'd done their chores or something, because they knew I would have said, sure, you can have a snack as soon as you put your toys away or as soon as whatever. So I was never really telling them what to do. You see, it was I call it the as soon as method. You can start that with toddlers. Yeah, want to go to the park? Okay, as soon as we get dressed, okay, we'll go to the park. It's not going to work right away. They don't always make sense. They might fight you anyways. Even if they really go to the park, they're nuts. They might just kick and scream. That's okay. They're toddlers. Oh, no. What to do if a toddler doesn't do the chore consequence? It starts at the age of 3. You said spills water on the floor, so I hand her a tissue to clean it up and she melts down. Oh, yeah. If she's under 3 years old, and even if she's 3, I don't do that. No, I would never do that. Yeah. I don't want to go on about that because this could be like a 20-minute speech about why you don't do that. The behavior board starts at 3, and you don't just hand a kid a tissue and tell them to clean up the mess they just made. Yeah. No, I don't want to go on about that because it'd take me too long. I could feel it coming. It's like it's a long answer, and yeah, check out the behavior board. If they're 3 and above, check out the behavior board. Okay. Kids want to choose things for me to do with them as the group or one-on-one, both ways. I feel so popular and loved, but should they be more wanting to play alone? Should I push them more? You just say, sure, I'll play for 30 minutes and then I'm gonna go do something. I'm gonna go do laundry or something. Just put a time limit on it. Just say, okay, I'm gonna play for 30 minutes. You've got to put a timer on. And when it goes ding, say, okay, I gotta get the laundry done now. That was great, kids, blah, blah, blah. So you gotta, it's like school works. Imagine school with no bells. Like it signifies the end or the start of something. So have an alarm go. Say, okay, I've got 30 minutes to play. What do you want to do? Okay, this is great. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, gotta go do some laundry now. Okay. So yeah. Get organized with that. Have a system. Use timers, stuff like that. Oops, I got to scroll ahead because people come and go, so I don't want to answer questions that people have already left. How can one help a child who has extreme emotions when you say no? 5-year-old. So in other words, they really hate hearing the word no. Just be a leader, and they'll get used to it. Who cares if they have emotions at not getting their own way? That's on them, not on you. It's okay that they get upset at not getting their own way all the time. You do not want to feed that. Can you just imagine turning into an adult having that? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting a ticket. There's no way. No way. I can speed as much as I want. You see? Don't let them threaten you. It's a bit of a threat. Their emotions are often a threat to you. Look how upset I get when you say no. You better say yes. You see? It's like that. I'd be surprised if it was something else. That's just what that is. Because when you say extreme emotions, it means that they must work. Children past the age of 4 only do what works. It means their extreme emotions must sway you and you must give into it. You must have. It's a tell for me. It means you've given into it before. So yeah, they'll survive. Let them work through it themselves. They'll learn. You do not want to hire me when that kid is 16 years old and having a fit and kicking indoors because he can't get the keys to the truck at midnight on a Saturday night. That's where you're headed if you don't get a hold of that now. I'm not saying it'll happen, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. How do you get them to not touch their poop when they're potty training? Be right there and don't let them touch it. Say no, dirty. Say, or whatever. Just don't let them touch it. So, because you have physical control over a little one. So just be right there and make sure they don't touch it. Best strategy for 20-month-old hitting when frustrated. I actually have a course on that. It's the dumbest name for a course. Toddlers who hit, bite, etc. I think is what I called it. Check it out. It's in the link above. And it's specific, goes into that. Now, if they hit during a tantrum, that's the tantrum course. If they hit just when they get mad, and they don't like something, that's the hitting course. They're different. Hitting during a tantrum is handled differently than just hitting because when they're mad. There's a difference. Okay. 2-year-old's extremely hard to distract. He'll keep going back to the thing he wanted. Any tips? Well, I don't know. I can go in so many different directions with that one. Can't you just put it away or keep him away, let him kick and scream? And, I'm going to read out my top 5 parenting toddlers tip. The first one is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Connect with the toddler in their world. So you don't go to the nail salon, you go to the park and roll down the hill with them. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words, they're about actions. So it's consistent corrective actions. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're going to keep going back if they think they can win. So you have to let them know that no matter what they do, you're never going to let them touch whatever you don't want them to touch. But put it away. I set them up for success. Sometimes parents just say, well, I want them to learn not to touch all that stuff. But I put it, oh God, this was so funny. Um, Someone pointed this out to me. I always say my home looked ridiculous when my kids were little because everything was like above where they couldn't touch it. And I said plants were up high. Someone in a comment somewhere said, "Oh, you're still doing it because my plants are up high." I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, set them up for success. What is it they're touching that you've left out that they, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you setting them up for failure or success, or is it something you really can't help? But yeah, and parents say, "Well, I don't want to childproof my home. I want my kids to learn not to touch things." Well, then you're making your life a lot harder for one thing. You're expecting a lot from a toddler. Plus, my kids didn't have anything to touch in our house, and when we went out, they were the least likely to get into things because they weren't used to being precocious at home. It was not a learned behavior. So yeah, set them up for success. Okay, you're not going to like my answer, but it's the only one I can give you because it's what I did and it's what I would and what I do again. How do you deal with friends who are extreme gentle parents? Well, I'm not going to comment on that, but when their kids are over, they have bad behaviors in my home, so hard to navigate. It's none of your business how other people parent, and just don't have them over. If they're that awful, don't. I just basically would dump friends that had rotten kids. I just did. It's not worth it. My life's too valuable to me. So if they couldn't control their kids and their kids are wrecking my home, I never saw them again. Or else I'd only see them at night or for dinner, the parents alone, or else I'd just go somewhere where the kids can wreck a play center. So yeah, I just didn't have them over. I don't need that. You don't need that. So yeah. Yeah, and plus how other people parent, it's none of your business. Like I never told a friend how to parent or I never corrected. If I'm babysitting their kids, I'm in charge, obviously. But if the parents are there, like I would never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. They're not my kids. So yeah. But if my kids had unruly kids and they didn't watch them, I'd say, "How about, hey, look, you know how fussy I am? How about we just get together at your place from now on?" That's what I would say, something like that. But I wouldn't tell them what to do with their kids, you see? My 4-year-old has started to change his behavior radically, and I cannot think why. You'd have to hire me for that. I don't know why. Could be a million reasons for that. That would be coaching. I'd have to assess the situation. Okay, good question here. How to enforce a media blackout with other kids in the home and it's a small house? Whenever you have media blackout, let's say you have 3 kids. One kid has media blackout. That means no screens for 24 hours. You do not sequester that one child. You don't put them in prison. You put the other kids in your master bedroom with a smaller screen. They're usually quite happy to be in your room with a smaller screen when their sibling doesn't have any. But when you're out in the big area, in the living area or whatever, with that one kid with media blackout, you do it with them and you say, "Look, I haven't got any screens either. I'm doing it with you. Do you want to play a game or something?" What often happens is the other kids come out of your bedroom, stop watching the screens, and they want to play the games too. So then it's like all this family fun. So without screens, that's the idea. There's lots of different directions that can go in. Like if you say, "Do you want to play a game?" They might say, "Oh, F you," or "Get lost," or so it depends on the age, right? And say, "Okay, never mind." And then you go like this when they calm down, say, "You ready for that game now?" So there's no anger. You're trying to connect with them during media blackout. They may never play a game with you. That's okay. Just keep putting out the olive leaf. They're on the low road. You take the high road. I'm in the UK and it's 0:13. Oh, after midnight here, and I love staying up to watch. I love your advice. Oh my God, I couldn't stay up that late. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate your support. I truly do. I went on, I was doing okay in my business. I did a lot of TV and radio and stuff, mainstream media stuff back in the day when it was more popular. And then I went on TikTok 2 years ago and changed my whole life. I blew up overnight. Who would think an old lady talking about kids, what anyone would look at? I thought TikTok was a bunch of 12-year-olds dancing. I had no clue. So yeah, just freaked me out. I went into a state of shock for about 3 months. I couldn't believe what was going on in my life. It's changed everything. But yeah, I'm very busy now, but I'm very careful too. Like, a lot of stuff comes my way. I've said no to everything. I'm just here to serve you, manage my clients, and just help you parent. It's business is great, but that's my secondary reason why I do this. I'm here to help you, right? So is it okay for grandparents to watch 2-year-old instead of going to daycare, or will they become spoiled? God, I think you're spoiled. You have grandparents to babysit your kids. Depends. I mean, if you're happy with, and just say, here's my rules. If I always say, don't tell other people how to look after your kids. But if there's certain things you're concerned with, especially nutrition, I would say, you don't want grandparents feeding them junk food all day. So just say, no, I don't think it'll spoil them. Depends. Like I certainly wouldn't spoil them. Maybe a little, but no, I don't think I would. I don't like spoiling kids. I want to have fun with them. But yeah, I think it's great. Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky? Okay, 4-year-old has decided to just ignore. So they just give you the silent treatment, the cold shoulder. They ignore you. It's a very disrespectful thing to do. That's just a tell. It means that you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. There's no way that would happen. No way. So you said, remember, we're never fixing kids here. They're a result of your parenting. Their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is at 100% a direct result of your parenting. That means that's great. It means you have control over it. You have control over how they treat people because you're going to teach them how to treat you well. Set yourself up as a leader. Check out the behavior board, the boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. If it's a 4-year-old, I'd suggest the boot camp course. It's all about you and your leadership. You lead, they will follow because you're fun too. A huge part of this, it's not discipline. It's just that's what you asked me here. It's not about discipline. Discipline's a tiny part of it. You address bad behavior and you deal with it. Then you focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus, and you play with them. You have fun with them. And you focus on the good kid because where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. If you're putting all your focus and energy into their bad behavior, I guarantee they're going to do more of it. It'll become their identity. So you just say, yeah, that was a bad thing to do. Okay, here's your consequence now. Do you want to go to the park? It's that quick. Their reaction may slow you down a little bit, but that's all you do. So yeah, and then you focus on the good kid. I didn't learn this through my own kids. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and I learned this. I thought, yeah, I don't take any crap, and they know that. But I'm always focused on I always bring out the best in them. When they like themselves, when they're with you, they treat you like gold. So your kids, if they're being rude like that, if your 4-year-old snubbing you, he doesn't like himself. His self-esteem's in the toilet. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. You cannot treat your parents like that and think well of yourself. So yeah, do them a favor by being a leader. So I got to keep an eye on the time because I tend to run late because I got to go to TikTok after this. Okay, good question. How do I know whether to do private coaching or your parenting boot camp? I always try and get people to do the boot camp instead because coaching costs a lot more money. It's more personal. It's going to be more effective if you've got big problems or if you've got something really different or with teenagers. The boot camp is 3 to 12 years old. I put all my best stuff in there. It goes over 5 weeks. It's all paced out accordingly. It starts slow. So it's kind of very similar to coaching. But coaching, of course, is going to get you better results because I can feed off of your questions, right? Everyone's a little bit different. Also, you know what's interesting is a lot of times when people hire me, they recommend me or talk about me, and then their family or friends will also hire me. And I always say, do not compare notes. They'll often do that. They'll compare notes and they'll say, are you talking to the same Lisa I am? Because my advice is often very different because it's individual. It's very personalized. But if you're just dealing with the standard stuff like tantrums, disrespect, lying, homework, all that school morning routines, bedtime routines, that's the boot camp course. But some people buy both. They buy the boot camp course and then they want coaching, so I go through it with them. That's your choice. It's your money. It's your time. My time too, but you're paying me. So, but yeah, that's up to you. But I would say the boot camp course is pretty good. I would not put that out there if I didn't really like it. And I had a bunch of clients going through that with me when I built it about 8 months ago. So. Also, I can't take on every client these days. I'm really busy. If I don't answer your email, it's because I'm not taking on clients right now. So if you say coaching and it's an email, if I don't answer you, it's just because you're in a queue, but I just haven't. If I'm not taking on new clients, I won't even look at the email if it's about coaching. Unless it's crisis. If you're in crisis, it's life and death stuff with teenagers usually, or abuse and trauma. Put crisis in the subject line. I'll always work with you. So yeah, that's my first priority. I specialize in teen crisis work, so or any crisis really. That's how I started my business. How can you be a leader but also have them trust enough to tell you everything? They do tell leaders everything. Leaders are also friends with them. Leader is not a dictator or an authority. A leader is a person who knows how to bring out the best in them, how to make them like themselves. That's what leadership's all about. Your best buddies, you're friends with them, but you know how to address the negative stuff too. So they do tell you everything. That's the whole point. You're a safe place to land. They trust you. They like you. They look up to you. You're like a mentor to them. You're their shining. You're the one that they go to for everything. They will tell you everything when you're a leader, right through the teen years, even stuff you don't want to hear. They're so used to talking to you, they can't help themselves. They trust you. They'll tell you everything. How do you be a leader? Keep watching. There's no simple answer. I have a course on that. It's 5 weeks, how to learn how to be a leader. So no, there's no simple answer. It's a process. Do you have any recommendations on teenagers' crisis courses? Well, I have no idea. I don't have any, and I don't know what anyone else out there is doing. I stay in my lane. I've never looked at what anyone else out there is teaching or doing. Why would I? Yeah. I'm not here critiquing other parenting coaches or whatever. So I don't have a clue. Just ask around. You know what I would do though, is if you want, so you got to make sure if you're going to hire someone with teenagers, if you're in crisis, make sure they know what they're doing. It is a specialty. Yeah, it's a real specialty. If you, you could actually call, well, I mean, I do that, but if you don't want to hire me, then you can actually call a school and you can ask to talk to the youth worker if there's a youth worker there, and they might have connections or ideas. That's what they do. They deal with teens in crisis and stuff. So, you know, I've never been hired by a youth worker, not that I know of. I get hired by teachers, principals, child psychologists. I've never been hired by a youth worker. I always say, if you can work with a troubled teen, you don't need my help. Yeah, that's the PhD in all this. So yeah, I don't know about any courses on teenagers. I've never read a book or anything on kids or anything. I don't know what else is out there. So I got to flip ahead because people come and go. Any sources for first-time mom? Well, I mean, I'm a source. I don't know. And I don't know what else is out there. So I've never read a book or anything on kids and parenting. Yeah. I'm kids taught me all this. I started, no one asked me about this anymore, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Oh, what time is it? Okay. How I got started in this. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And even then the daycare workers asked me, how do you do that? They like you, but they listen to you. And I didn't know how to answer. I was a leader back then. I just always would study kids and try and figure out what they were thinking. I remember doing that. We were watching them thinking, oh, I know what you're thinking. And then I'd work with it. You see, I wasn't trying to do what I thought was right. I was trying to enter their world and do it with and feed into how they were acting and how they would react. So that I was 11. And then I was 20 and I thought, well, I'm going to be a child psychologist. Obviously, I got to do this because I was always volunteering with kids and that. So I thought, oh, I'll become a child psychologist. Well, I took the first course. They kicked me out after a week because I was asking too many questions, and they were good ones. So the other students were asking me questions because what they were saying in this course was so patronizing towards kids. It was always about outsmarting them and tricking them. It was just garbage. I'm sure this is 40 years ago. I'm sure they've improved by now, but it was just crap. So thank God I didn't do that. I would have been under that umbrella. Oh my God, it wouldn't have worked. And then I realized I'm not going to learn this from anyone but kids. So then I was always volunteering in schools. I got some clearance from the government to go into homes, helping with struggling families, and a lot of schools, hospitals, detention centers, psych wards, and hospitals and all that. And I was just working with kids for all those years. I found it fascinating. You know why? Because they are us before they get all the baggage. They're us before they get all the responsibilities and the extra things they have to do. That's how we all formed. I just find them fascinating. Yeah. Anyway. That's how I started. And then the teenagers, when I used to mentor troubled teens, they said, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa. No one talks to us like you do. So they told me to do this. That was about probably 30 years ago now. I don't know. Anyway. Sometimes I'll be walking past and I'll see a kid having a fit in the park, and I'll just stop and watch. Now, I don't do TV anymore. Like I used to do a lot of TV, so people knew who I was in Vancouver, or a lot of people did. So I couldn't do that, but now no one knows. I'm incognito now. No one knows who I am. Some people do, but not many. So I'll just stand there and pretend I'm looking at my phone, and I'll watch the parents, and I'll watch the kid, and they are so clearly telling their parent, or they're so clearly expressing how they need to be dealt with, but the parents just miss it, just completely miss what's going on, because they're thinking with their adult brain. They're not going into what the child's doing. Like I'm just watching, thinking, yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's not what the kids are going to react to. So the parents, and they'll even say stuff like this to their child: use your words. How freaking patronizing is that? They are using their words. Tantruming, screaming is their words. So yeah, it's just a lack of understanding. It's not the parents meaning to be like that. They just don't understand. So anyway, I got to go over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, the boot camp course that's for 3 to 12 years old, 5 weeks, all about your leadership. Or you can look into coaching. I'm really busy, so you have to apply to that now if you're interested. Check it out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Okay.
I love oat milk latte. Have you still in a grieving process?
TikTok starts with an ad now. They didn't used to do that. Here we go. Okay. So I just get a bunch of emails while I'm doing a live. I'm just checking some of them out here. Okay. Okay. This is on YouTube now. How to wean off an almost 3-year-old child. So stop breastfeeding. What you have to do with that is just do it like that. You can't do it, oh, I'll feed you at night, but not during the day. You just say, this is, they're 3 years old. Just close it down. Start wearing different clothes. Don't sit down so they can reach up underneath there and have the dad or someone else tend to them more than you. But you just got to do it like that. It's going to be rough. This is what you're asking me is how to make it easy. It's not going to be easy, but you just have to do it like pulling off a Band-Aid and say no more, and then buy them a special sippy cup or something instead of this. Yeah, but I think what most parents are asking is how do we make it easy? You don't. These transitions are difficult. They're just going to be difficult. Okay, what else? Mom of 2 boys. I work 45 to 55 hours out of the house. They go to daycare full time. How do I start the behavior board? You just start it. Just keep it manageable if you don't see them a lot. But what I would suggest you do, I always put no yelling as the parent. If you yell, you always put no yelling as your rule. You might want to put down, play 10 minutes of hide and seek with the kids. That's your rule. You have to do it every single day. Anyway, it's just so you get more bonding time. It's sort of connecting with them after you haven't seen them all day. Tends to calm them. No, it excites them, but it also calms their emotions down a little bit because you're connecting with them. So anyways, you might want to check that out. Okay, welcome to my live. I'm on TikTok now. If you've come over from Instagram and or Facebook, thanks very much for moving along with me. I'm also on YouTube the whole time. My big, are there payment plans for the bootcamp course? No, there aren't. I don't have, you just have to pay up front for everything I have. There's no way I want to get into payment plans. And one of the reasons is if you don't pay, you won't, because the first week, you're not going to get any results if you don't finish it off. So it's kind of like starting anything. You got to go through the whole thing. If I thought you could be helped in just 1 week, I might do that. But there's no way, because you're going to say, well, that course is crap. I went through a whole week and didn't get anything done. Yeah, you have to go through the whole process. It's a whole system. So yeah, you have to pay up front. I need that commitment. And if not, I'm here for free every single day. Or you can get the behavior board. So there's a lot of free options too. 10 weeks pregnant and I love your content. Really want to break the cycle. God, are you sick? I hated being pregnant. I was so sick. Oh, hope you're not. I had friends who never had 1 day of nausea. I could truly say I hated their guts in that moment. I was sick for 9 months with my daughter. It was like stomach flu on steroids for 9 months. I didn't even know that was possible. If she was my first, she would have been my last. There's no way I would have gone through that again. It was just hell. Anyway, she was worth it. But I wouldn't have done it again. I would have adopted. Back then, actually, it was good back then because you could go to China and just get baby girls were aplenty back then. So yeah, it would have been easy to adopt a little Chinese girl back then. So that's what would have happened. If I had that horrible pregnancy first, I would have gone to China and got That would have been my second child. How do I become a better leader? Just keep watching, get the free behavior board, the boot camp course, check it all out. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. I don't know how you can become a better leader because I don't know where you are now and what you're doing. So yeah, just keep watching. It makes sense. And also, everyone asks me about discipline. This parenting isn't about discipline. That's a tiny, 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 tiny part of this. Tiny, tiny part of it. It's about connecting with your kids, bonding with them, be a leader for them, be a good listener. So they tell you everything. You're a safe place to land. You're the person that they go to when they have a problem. You know, right through the teen years, they tell you everything. That's what parenting's all about. The discipline, yeah, you take care of business. You say, yeah, that was bad. Here's your consequence. And then, you know, that's it. But then that's it. You're on there too, though. I was accountable. If I made a mistake, boy, my kids loved it. If I messed up and I kept them waiting, I hate being kept waiting. I hate it when people are late. So disrespectful of my time. Anyway, I just hate it. So if I kept them waiting, it was usually something I couldn't help. It doesn't matter. If they said, Mom, you were late, and they'd look at each other like this, like they knew. And I'd say, fine, what do you want? And they'd say, we'd love to go to the water slide park tomorrow. So that's where we went. So I was accountable too. You got to give your kids that. If you expect them to be accountable, you got to be accountable. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. So a lot of parents say, well, isn't that weakness? No, leadership and being accountable is strength. Have the strength to admit when you're wrong and make amends and be accountable for it. You got a hitter, a 4-year-old who hits a lot. Just put no hitting on the behavior board and then have the teacher report to you and say, every time you hit, here's the consequence. If it's really a huge problem, you might want to hire me for that. Because there's more levels we can go to. If that isn't enough, you might want to hire me because I'd have to assess the situation and decide how he can. I won't go into it, but there's more things we can do with that. But that's sort of next level. Just put no hitting on the behavior board, and then there's a consequence if he does. Watching your videos has made me a lot more confident in my parenting. Thank you for that. You're very welcome. That's why I'm here. I love helping parents. It's because I'm a nurturer by nature. I'm a nature nurturer anyway. And so it just feeds that in me because I don't have any animals right now. I've decided not, my dog died last year and it's first time in my whole life I haven't had pets. And I just decided that this freedom at my age, because I want to be able to go out and help with my grandchildren and stuff like that now. So, but yeah, this is my maternal stuff. It gets it out of my system because I need this. I have to do this. So I listen to you every single day on YouTube. Thank you for putting them on YouTube. Oh, you're very welcome. I actually have someone who does all that for me, so I wouldn't have a clue how to do that. But yeah, YouTube's, I'm kind of growing. I don't know how many followers I've got. YouTube's a beast. It's hard to figure out. It's a search engine. It's not a social media platform. So, but yeah, that's where I save all of these lives. They're all on there permanently. So the whole live. So if you're interested, anyway. And thanks for your support. I appreciate that. Okay, I feel I have zero authority with my almost 4-year-old, not sure how to deal with that. Set yourself up as a leader. I teach you how to do it in my boot camp course. Check that out, 3 to 12 years old. And it's all about you and your leadership. It's not about your children, it's about you. You lead and they will follow. I managed to get respect with every single kid I worked with. I've worked with hundreds of kids. Was it them I just lucked out and got a good day? Or was it my leadership? They naturally, instinctively are drawn to a leader. All children want, crave, and need leadership. If you don't provide that for them as their parent, they're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. If you're their leader, they come home and report everything to you. They run everything past you. I used to say to my mom, nothing's happened till I've told you about it. And I said that until virtually the day she died. She was 93 and died in my arms. Yeah. So nothing had happened until I told my mom about it. That's how close we were. And my daughter and I are also we're best friends. So yeah, it's a mother-daughter thing. What do you think of homeschooling kindergarten? I have no opinion on homeschooling, breastfeeding till they're however old, Montessori, religion, any of that. That's all personal choice. The only thing that I've seen consistent with homeschooled kids is if they're not socialized with other non-homeschooled kids, by the time they are mainstreamed, often in high school, they can suffer socially. Because homeschooled kids, if they haven't been socialized outside of that community, they have a different way of socializing, or they're just a little bit different. And I was talking to this kid once, and he says, I can spot a homeschooled kid a mile away. I thought that was years and years ago. This teenager told me that. He said, yeah, everyone picks on them because you can spot them a mile away. He said they're kind of like Quakers. I'd never heard that before. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know they were that easy to spot, but he goes, oh yeah, and they get picked on. So that it doesn't tend to happen if they are socialized out there in other kids. I thought that was funny. Kids say the darndest things. You didn't use the word Quaker, though. What's another term for people who have wagons and that and don't have electricity? Kids crack me up. I can spot one a mile away. Amish, that was it. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, but overall, homeschooling's great. God, I wouldn't want to do it. If you love doing it, that's great. And there's a tight-knit community with homeschoolers because they often, they socialize together in that. But like I said, just make sure they socialize with other kids too. Okay, best toddler advice. Okay, I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I'm sure most of you have heard this a million times. Anyway, my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you don't do that at the nail salon. You enter their world. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They do start to look at you differently. The better you get at connecting with them in their world, the more likely they are to listen to you. And number 4 is kind of similar. When you're disciplining a toddler, you do so in their world. They're about actions, not words. These mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings, it's just crap. That was invented for the mom. It doesn't do anything for the toddler. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. I always call them crazy. They're not so much crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. They're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they're just forming. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. You want to figure that one out? Ugh. I love everything about you and your channel. Thanks so much. Have you read all the haters too? I've got lots of hate too. Do you tell them what they've done wrong? Sort of. Not really though. If they hit or something, I say, no, that was bad. And then I just have a consequence. People tend to want to go on and on and on about what they did wrong. That's for you. You know what that is? It's a little bit of, It's like they already get it. They already know what they did wrong. Unless they're mentally challenged or something, they usually know what they've done wrong. I would just say, oh, that was bad. Here's the consequence. So yeah, I don't go on about it. Why on earth would you do that? Let's say you're speeding down the freeway and a cop pulls you over. Does he go on and on and on about what you did wrong? And would it have any effect on you other than you saying, whatever? Like he just says, okay, you know why I pulled you over, blah, blah, blah. And then he gives you a ticket and then he says, have a nice day, drive carefully, and that's it. He doesn't stand there discussing exactly what you did wrong because you already know. It just builds resentment. It makes you look like another thing you did wrong and another thing that's wrong with you. You don't need to go on about the negative. You can go on about the positive, but you never go on about the negative. That's the pool story. God, you must have heard this a million times. Have you heard the pool? If you want the pool story encompasses everything I think about parenting. Like it just synopsizes how I feel about leadership parenting. It wasn't even a story about my own kids. It was another kid. But if you want to hear that, let me know. But you've probably all heard it a million times. But if you want to hear the pool story, just put pool story, please, and I'll tell it because I've just told it so many times. Okay. Any tips for dealing with counter-parenting? X undermines you. You can only do what you do. You can't tell another adult how to act. So just set yourself up as a leader and the kids are going to talk to you anyway. Okay, what's your favorite thing to talk about? Teenagers. They're my favorite age by far. Teenagers. I never heard the pool story. Here, okay, pool story. The pool story is, I've actually got a video on it, and I did it a few weeks ago. That was a video I thought, that's going to get 10 million views. I think it only got like maybe 500,000 or 600,000, I don't know. But anyway, it wasn't one of my biggest videos, but I think it should be. It's just the best video. But anyway, I'll tell you the story. The reason why that was a good video is I hit every point in that video. And normally I miss a couple of points out, but anyway, I'll do my best here. This is the pool story. It's a true story. My son was 8 years old. It was his pool party. We had a pool in the backyard. My husband took our daughter somewhere else, and it was just me. And so anyway, 5 8-year-old boys come over, so now there's 6 of them. So before they went in the pool, I said, okay, boys, I said, the rule is that Whaley cannot go in the pool. Now, Whaley was a giant blow-up toy, like a big whale, and I couldn't see behind it. So I said to the boys, I said, look, I can't see behind Whaley when he's in the pool, so 3 of you could drown, because all I'm doing is counting heads. I'm a safety nut. So I said, I can't see behind him. It's too dangerous. Now, we didn't have a foot pump, so I didn't want to take the air out of it. So I said, and he was way over there, and I said, now don't bring Whaley in the pool. Okay, that was all. I didn't explain it that long, but anyway, I just said, no Whaley, because I can't see behind him. You can die. So anyway, I said, have fun. They go in the pool. Sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley in the pool, as I knew would happen. Anyway, so I said to him, Whaley out of the pool now. He said to me, no. My son went like this, because he knows mom knows how to take care of business. Fully clothed, I'm in the pool in a shot, and I got that kid out, and I sat him down beside me, and I said, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes. My son got Whaley out of the pool. Now I'm counting 5 heads. Here's what I'm doing with this kid. He's sitting beside me for 10 minutes now. So I said, oh, I saw you in a soccer game the other day. Didn't you get a goal? High five, way to go. And we worked on that test, and I heard you got 85% on that test. Well, well done. See, I told you were smart. And then, what's your favorite PlayStation game? Well, this kid's talking. Me. And another thing about me, another reason why I'm so great, and he's talking. 10 minutes is up. And I'm saying, okay, 10 minutes is up. Go back in the pool and have fun. I couldn't get rid of him. He's talking. He felt like $1 million about himself. He's all over me at this point. Couldn't get rid of this kid. And I kept looking over at my son. So finally, my son said, we're going to be playing basketball now. Come back in the pool, because they needed 3 per team. So finally, he goes back in the pool. For the rest of that afternoon, that kid was all over me. Lisa, can I help you with the cake? Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? He was all over me, good as gold. Didn't do another thing wrong. Okay, then his mom came and picked him up later on, 3 hours later, felt like 3 days. But anyway, I hate doing parties, so much work. Anyway, so finally she picks him up and she says to him, were you as rotten as always? He kicked her in the shin and off they went. This poor mom, he was a challenge. Anyway, but she didn't know how to deal with him. Anyway, what did I do there? So I was very clear when they first arrived about the rule, no Whaley in the pool. And why not? Because I can't see behind him. Okay, perfect. So then they get in the pool. When that kid brought Whaley in the pool, I did not say, can you please take Whaley out of the pool? I don't talk like that. It's a safety issue. He knows he's doing something rotten. So I said to him, Whaley out of the pool now, very calmly. Now, why would I not repeat that? Because I don't repeat myself. I take action. So as soon as he said no, I jumped in the pool fully clothed, and I had that pool built. That was a concrete pool. I had it built so it was only up to here on me in the deep end, so I could rescue kids. That's how safety net I am. So anyway, I was right in the deep end with him, and I grabbed him and I took him out right away. And then and then my son got Whaley out. He already knew the score. So then he sat down beside me, I said, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes now. Why would I not say why? He already knows. I don't focus on the bad. I focus on the good kid. I deal with bad behavior. It's done. As soon as I said, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes, it's finished. Now I'm bonding with him. I'm connecting with him. I'm focused on the good kid. That's all I'm doing. I'm pulling it out of him. This kid was like this when he first sat down. And then by the end of it, he was so up himself. He was taught me, and me. Another thing, reason I'm wonderful. Now he likes himself when he's with me. When you feel like that about yourself with someone else, I didn't do that. You did that. When you like yourself with someone else, that was the cowboy I was talking about. When you like yourself and the person who's make you like yourself, don't you want to please them? See, I brought out the best in him, and that's what I got for the rest of the afternoon. Then, when the 10 minutes was up, why did I not say, don't take Whaley in the pool again? Why would I not say that? Because I would remind, again, I'm focused on the bad. See, because you said, do you explain the bad behavior? No, it's already done. Don't focus on it. What you focus on is what grows. So now I'm focused on the good kid. I said, okay, 10 minutes is up. Go back in the pool and have fun. It's all positive now. And that's all I got was good out of him the rest of the day. Does that make sense? Leaders bring out the best in kids, in anybody. A leader, it's not about you and how impressive you are. It's a leader brings out the best in someone. but you don't take any crap either. I deal with bad behavior. It's very quick. It's done. It's very business-like. There's no emotions in it. It's a business transaction. And then I'm dealing with the good kid. I'm focusing on the good kid. Does that make sense? To me, that's leadership. That's what I teach. It's not about discipline. It's about making kids feel good about themselves. And they don't feel good about themselves when they're naughty. They feel good about themselves when they're nice. So you guide them into making good choices. My son was in grade 2, and his teacher called me on her lunch hour to tell me this. She goes, "This was so cute, Lisa. I had to call you at home." She said, "You won't believe what your son said." And I said, "What?" And she said, I asked him, he's in grade 2. She said, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her like this, and he said, "Mommy makes us be nice." Like he had no choice. You're darn right. I made them be nice. And they felt great about themselves. They had high self-esteem. And they make good choices when they're like that. And then you think they'd ever be rude to me? Because you see what I mean? If you feel good about yourself with someone, don't you want to please that person? Have you ever had a coach, a teacher, a mentor, someone that you looked up to? Have you ever been rude to them? Why not? Because they make you feel good. That's the way I look at parenting. You make your kids feel good about themselves. But I don't take any crap. If they do something naughty, I deal with it. I say, "No, that wasn't any good. That wasn't cool. Okay, here's the consequence. Now, do you want to go to the park?" I focus on the good kid again. I flip it like that. Anyway, okay. How do we stop toddlers from saying mean things? You don't. You just ignore it. That's in the crazy department. A toddler is under the age of 3. You really can't stop that. Just sort of go, "Oh, okay," just look away. And then the problem is that a lot of parents ignore the bad behavior, but then they forget to reward the good behavior. So let's say they're saying mean things and all that, and then as soon as they're finished, then they say something not mean or nice, then say, "Oh, okay, did you want to go read a book or something?" So you gotta make sure you flip it. So you want to reward what you do want. You're not doing that 24/7, but you know what I'm saying. So if they're really rotten for a while, and then when they are good, then you want to address that and say, "Oh, do you want to read a book?" It depends, though. Sometimes you do address it. It kind of depends on what's going on. There can be exceptions to that one. But that's my general answer. And you can't really stop kids from doing anything. They can only stop themselves. You cannot self-regulate. Then we talk about helping a child self-regulate. No, they self-regulate. The self-regulate is self, right? They can only regulate themselves. You can guide them into making good choices. There's a difference there. When I ask my son, 2-year-old, to do something, I have to ask several times. I don't repeat myself. I say something once, and if they don't do it, I take action. Like the pool story. Whaley out of the pool now. When he said no, I was in the pool and I pulled him up. I would never repeat myself. There's no way. No. Often have to give a choice and say, "You do it or I do it." Yeah, I don't talk like that. It sounds like you're afraid of them. Either you do it or I'll do it, or I don't know. I'm just getting this feeling that you're afraid of their reaction. Yeah, never show fear. It's like with wild animals, never show fear. It's like that 8-year-old kid who said to me, he didn't know me and he just met me. I was going to be working with him. He's 8 years old and he says, "If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit." And I said, "Bring it on." And he never did. He was like, "Whoops. Yeah, I'm not afraid of him." Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't scare me at all. If you're afraid of a fit, scene, tantrum, or meltdown, they are in charge, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I'm like, "Bring it." I didn't just say, "Okay," or whatever. I said, "Bring it on." Like, give it a go. Good luck with that. He just sensed right away that that wasn't going to work with me. So yeah, never show fear. "Oh, I'm always trying to avoid the meltdown, so I give in too much." Yeah, how's that working for you? That'll backfire big time. Big time. You're the pleaser parent. They're going to treat you like a dish rag, wipe their feet all over you, and you're going to really regret that down the road. Yeah, you never want to avoid a meltdown. If you're doing the right thing and you're trying to avoid not letting them do the wrong thing, then yeah, you got to go through the meltdowns. You got to be willing to face it head on. I call them storms. Behind every storm is a lesson. Behind every meltdown, fit, scene, tantrum is a lesson. They're not going to learn anything if you don't let them do that. Like that kid, when he says, "If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit." And I said, "Bring it on." Like, That's my opportunity. And I probably smirk. My son used to say, whenever you're handling kids, you smirk. Well, I try not to, but I would have probably said, bring it on. Like, in other words, good luck with that. And I could see his face. He looked kind of, ooh, she knows what she's doing. So yeah, he was good for me. Treated me very well. So yeah, but that takes practice. Yeah, he wasn't my first rodeo. He was only 8. I work with troubled teens, so uh, do you ignore them when they're having the fit? Absolutely, yeah. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. If they're getting destructive, if they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property, you physically restrain them. Unless they're too big. Like, you would never physically restrain a teenager if they're just damaging property. You don't want them to hurt themselves or someone else, though. But yeah, yeah, you have to let it go. You just, like, you're filing your nails while they're having a fit. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? You want to go to the park? But you never go on your phone or look distracted or talk to someone else while they're having a fit. You want it to look like you know they're doing it, and you're just waiting for it to end, like you're filing your nails. I always say filing your nails. You can just be standing there looking at the birds in the trees, just like you're waiting. Don't leave them. You're around, but just make it look like you're just waiting. Like, you can even kind of go like that, and you're just waiting. As soon as they're done, you want to read a book? See, it's like that. You never discuss a tantrum before, during, or after. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they want to know why. Why do you not ever talk about a tantrum? It becomes a very long answer. And often I'll say to them, because they ask so many great questions, right? And often I'll say, I'll tell you what, when we're finished with the coaching, if you still want to ask, then ask. Sometimes they don't. Because it's just a loss of emotional control. There's no reason for addressing that. And once you're a leader, they don't do that anyway. And you're giving it too much power. You don't give any attention to a tantrum before, during, or after. You're giving it power if you do. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. My son, who's 5 years old, behavior's been getting worse, such as hitting other children. What can I do? Work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids. When you're a leader, they don't act like that. They just don't. They'd be embarrassed. They wouldn't want to face you because they want to please you. Between the ages of 3 and 12 years old, it's a natural instinct to want to please a leader. They need, crave, and want leadership, and they want to please that leader. You're like a mentor to them. You're like a best friend, a mentor who also knows how to take care of business if they do something wrong. You know how to bring out the best in them. You know how to make themselves like themselves. Kids who are acting like that have very low self-esteem, guaranteed. Guaranteed. You can't be mean to other people and still think well of yourself, even as a young child. It's impossible. It doesn't go together. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Check out the boot camp course. That might be the best bet for you. I've been talking all day long. I can feel my voice is starting to go. I've been coaching all day. I've got a limit to how many sessions I can do in a day, and I've still got another one after this. So that'll be my limit for sure. I got to really look after my voice. Plus, I tend to throw my voice a lot when I'm doing this. I've got to learn how to protect it more. Someone told me that once. They said, you always talk like you're public speaking. And I don't protect my voice, evidently. I've got to learn how to do that. I just get all excited. Okay, good question, but you're not going to like my answer. Restaurant tips for toddlers, the same as at home. If you allow your kids to act out at home and then you expect them to be good elsewhere, you're expecting to have different toddlers. You got to be consistent 100% wherever you are. My kids were great at home during dinner, so when we went to a restaurant, why would they act out there? They never acted out at home. You see? So yeah, you have to have the same parenting style everywhere you go. My kids knew I was 100% predictable. They knew exactly how I was going to react in every single situation. There was no question. Oh, I wonder if mom's going to say anything if I do that. They knew exactly what I was going to say and do. I was proud of this. I was proud of being a leader. So I was like, okay, everybody, watch the show. I was proud of it. So yeah, you got to be the same parent everywhere you go. What do you do for discipline? Timeout? Are you joking or are you new? Sorry, but everyone knows how much I hate timeout. Can't stand it. So I don't know if you're just poking the bear with that one or you're new. Anyway, yeah, I hate timeout. I think it's mean. I think it's degrading and it's humiliating. There's no lessons learned in it. You go sit in a corner and feel like crap about yourself. It's all it is. It's just ridiculous. I want them right here. I'm dealing with them. I'm a leader. I'm dealing with them. But yeah, there's no way I would do a timeout. Never done it, never will. Yeah, I think it's humiliating. Imagine if you make a mistake at work and your boss says, you go sit in that corner for 10 minutes because you made a mistake. It's the same feeling with the child. It's exactly the same feeling. They don't sit there and think about what they've done. They sit there and feel like garbage. And it also makes you look weak. You don't even know how to deal with them, so you send them away. It's like, oh, go over there. Ugh. Ugh. So yeah, just keep watching. I teach everything else you do instead of time out. Anyway, I got to get going. My voice is going. Plus, I've got another session coming up soon. Oh, and it's time up anyway. So thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. That's 5 weeks for you to get respect. Or you can look into coaching. I can't take everyone on these days. I'm very busy. So you have to just check it out first. Decide if you want to do it or not, and then send me an email and you'll get in a queue. If I don't answer you, it just means that I don't have time. I can't take you on right now, but you're in a queue. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you again tomorrow sometime. Bye now. Happy parenting.